we waited, and at the last second, the Warriors making moves. They trade Corey Joseph to the Indiana Pacers for a second-round pick. It was almost like, hey, we're in town already, like let's got to do something, right? I don't know a Warrior fan that was like, yeah, let's just stand pat. We don't got to do anything. Like, I like what we have, right? No one has been saying that. We've all been expecting not necessarily a big move, but some sort of shuffling of the roster to get a bigger body. Andre Drummond was rumored to be on the way earlier today. That was exciting. Yeah, man. I circled Moses Moody, and don't get it twisted. I like Moody as a young player, and that's in part why I thought they could trade him, because he's not getting the opportunity he has deserved with the team. And then you look at the unbalanced roster and how guard heavy we are. It was like, all right, well, maybe you can trade Moody for a big body and kind of balance out the roster. Nothing. And I think the more disappointing thing was there were a lot of smaller moves made around the league, and it was like, oh, they weren't interested in that. You couldn't get in on that. Like Daniel Gafford, Kelly Olynyk, right? There were some moves of players that clearly they would be interested in, and for whatever reason, they weren't able to get it done. Now that we're in February, let's be honest. A lot of us have left our New Year's resolutions in January. But that's all right. Just because you stumbled or you weren't able to stick to it, it doesn't mean you should stop. And I've always been told that it takes about 21 days to create a habit. And I think that is where Factor can really help a lot of people, because it's fresh, never frozen food delivered directly to your doorstep, all dietitian approved, and they have something for everyone. Everyone's wants and needs can be fulfilled. Over 35 options weekly. You've got Smart Cow, Chef's Choice, Protein Plus, Vegan, and then they have all these on-the-go snack packs that you can add, whether it's breakfast, wellness shots, ones that I've been using. And so Factor, I think, can really let you set good habits, and it's sustainable, it's affordable, and most of all, it's good. So head over to factor75.com or click the link in the description and use the code Alchemy50 for 50% off your first box at Factor. I've heard this conspiracy several times, and I don't doubt it. I'm willing to listen to it. The fact that the Warriors have been so dominant in the league for the last decade that teams don't necessarily want to do the Warriors any favors, right? They don't want to help the Warriors out, and they're not like trying to help us stay in contention. And then I think you add the fact that, look, as solid as Dunleavy has been, he's still a new GM. He doesn't have the contact list and the relationships that Bob Myers has built up over the years. So I think there are plenty of factors why it didn't go down, man. I also add the fact that, hey, they're looking better. They're looking better just in the nick of time. We'll talk maybe about the last night's game here in a second. The Corey Joseph trade does open up a roster spot, right? Now, does that mean Lester Quinones gets a full-time roster spot? He's certainly playing like he deserves one. But there also are a lot of names that are looking like they're going to hit the buyout market, and a lot of teams just dumping players. Robin Lopez, Marcus Morris, Spencer Dinwiddie, to name a few. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of players on the buyout market. But again, the Warriors are no longer in a spot where it's like, hey, come compete for a championship right now. I'm not sure it's as easy as a sell to join this roster as it was, opposed to a couple years ago where it was like, hey, you want to make a deep playoff run and get exposure and coming into your free agency, join the Warriors. That's no longer the case. Not to mention, if you are a bigger body, are you going to get any minutes? Now, I'll have a full trade podcast here in the next 48 hours once I can digest everything that's happened. But my initial thoughts are the Detroit Pistons are acting like a G League team, right? They're like, are they the Oakland A's of the NBA, where it's like, hey, we'll harbor some young players and some guys, and if you like any of them, just let us know. We'll throw you one or two, right? I mean, and obviously the Knicks are the clear winner of this trade deadline right now. It's kind of remarkable what they've brought into their roster without even giving up a first-round pick. You get Bogdanovich, Alec Burks back. Yeah, that's the clear winner, right? And all of that for Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes was the prize of that. Quentin Grimes, he can't dribble. He doesn't shoot free throws. You can't have that. You can't have that, right? Like Quentin Grimes is the prize. And again, Gafford, did he go to Dallas? That was kind of disappointing. I had made mention of this when they first got RJ Barrett. I was like, hey, go get Olynyk as well. Go build Team Canada. It looks like that's what Toronto's doing. They sent out Schroeder. Again, I'll have to go over all these. Marcus Morris is an interesting buyout name. He's a big body. Robin Lopez, I don't know how much he has left in the tank. Knowing the Warriors and the history of the Warriors, if they do use that empty roster spot, it'll probably be for Quinones in the internal development. And so, hey, if a move's not out there, a move's not out there. I think it's disappointing to everyone. And again, I thought Drummond might have came through. And hey, maybe at the 11th hour, is that what they say? You know, some of these trades roll in late. So I'll check my phone right now just to make sure that I'm not missing something here. But yeah, second round pick for Kojo. That's all we're doing here. Let's talk a little bit about last night in Philadelphia. A blowout feel-good win against a depleted Sixers team. And we can talk about Andrew Wiggins making a statement last night, right? Because your actions speak louder than your words. And on the eve of the trade deadline, we saw maybe the most confident, aggressive Andrew Wiggins we've seen all season. And then after the game, he doubles down on he loves the team, he loves his players, and he wants to be a Warrior in a very definitive way. Like Wiggins is kind of a shy, bashful cat, and it was just a very decisive comment from Andrew Wiggins. And I do think that is important because, let's be honest, there's been a lot of speculation whether Andrew Wiggins wants to still be with the Warriors, right? You can go all the way back to the COVID and the vaccination thing, right? Trading away Jordan Poole, the handling of Jordan Poole, his extended absence last year. There's been, it hasn't been clear what the situation was, but it's led some people to say like, hey, Wiggins probably doesn't want to be here. You know what I mean? And again, his actions and his words last night said otherwise. And so that's always been the issue. Like, we were talking, there was a rumored Bobby Portis Wiggins deal out there. I like Bobby Portis. Like, I wouldn't have been mad at that deal necessarily. And some of you were like, well, Alk, that's, we're not going to get the talent. Wiggins is so much more talented. We're not going to get the same talent in return. Understand, that was never the question, right? The question with Wiggins is, what type of Wiggins are we going to get consistently, right? There's no doubt Wiggins is a more talented player than Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis brings it every night. That's been the debate, right? And, things are trending upwards for Andrew. And I loved his comments, his demeanor, and his actions. Most importantly, last night. I thought the other very interesting thing was, did you see Kenny Atkinson up off the bench coaching the defense live in real time, much like Mike Brown used to do? Like, as it's happening, rotate, low, high, like shift, adjust. And what took so long? And it's funny. It's a difficult situation. Kenny Atkinson, who's been a head coach, sometimes it's not always easy to adjust to being an assistant where you're not the main voice in the room and you don't want to overstep and do this and that. But I love seeing him be up and active, and more importantly, the way they responded. I think it's easier for a coach to do that with younger players, right? Vets, it's kind of like it's harder to do. But when Quinones is out there, Kuminga, Pods, he can actively coach them. I'd like to see him do it with the whole roster. But you noticed how aggressive they were with the ball pressure. They were picking up at the logo. They were hard switching, like hedging and showing really, really aggressively. Now, granted, Philadelphia had an under-the-weather Maxey and not a lot of firepower on the floor. But I just liked the aggression and the effort level for the second night in a row. Or is it the second night? I guess we played in Brooklyn Monday, right? But it's been showing up on this road trip because they're not shooting the three ball well, and it's not going to travel. It's not a surprise, right? A long East Coast road trip in February, your three ball doesn't always show up. You're going to have to find different ways to win. So, as disappointing as it is to not add another big body specifically, there are some things that are looking better. Right? Mainly the activity on defense with the young guys, communicating more. And then Klay, is he going to accept this role, right? And he shot the ball well last night. Was he 4 or 5 from downtown? 18 points in 28 minutes. Can that be good enough for him? Can that be a big night? And can Steve Kerr figure out early in games when it's time to dial Klay back? Oh, he may not have it tonight. Let's go somewhere else with the rotation. But yeah, I'm curious to see what other names are going to hit the buyout market, because we do now have an open roster spot. But if this is what it's going to be, more Trace Jackson, please. I know we sit here and we complain about the rotations and this and that, but that's what we do as fans, right? But like Trace, I'm glad to see Looney getting right. He had a really good game last night, and I think you're seeing already they've dialed back his minutes, and he's already moving better and more spry in the minutes that he is playing. But I'd love to see more of Trace, specifically with Kuminga. And I know some will say, oh, the spacing in this, but the amount of attention that Kuminga's drawing in the paint, it'd be awful nice for him to have a lob threat or a check down guy in the dunker spot who could finish quickly and above the rim. Now, GP2 may be that guy, but I also circle Trace as that guy. So yeah, I'll be back in a couple of days, maybe with a buyout video, and we'll see how as the dust settles here. But let me know in the comments if you got a buyout guy in mind, or if there was a trade that happened that you think we could have got in on. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.